Houston, we have a problem.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
A boy's best friend is his mother.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Silent breed is people!
Yo,
Let's put a smile on that face.
I gotta warn you, Clark. They don't play the same games here as they do at them regular casinos.
Royale cheese.
Welcome back to Casino Royale with Cheese. Once again, this is the show where Mike and Shane discuss movies that were number one at the box office exactly 20 years ago to the day, give or take a day or two, depending on the leap year and the year and so on and so forth. My name is Shane. With me, I have the red light to my green light. This is Mike.
Oh, we're talking about gun bombs.
Yeah.
Hey, all right.
Gun bombs, my friend.
What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How you doing today?
I'm pretty good.
Pretty good.
We're still in that stretch of the Titanic just titanically dominating the box office.
Mm-hmm. Counting this current episode, we have exactly 5 weeks left until 1998. Titanic was overthrown at the box office. And we'll go into that more when we get there. Me and Mike were talking about it earlier. But so me and Mike are actually filming face-to-face today for once. I guess, $10 worth of toll booth later, and here I am, you know. So. But anyway, last week we talked about Ghostbusters.
Yes, we did.
Mostly me, but and what is it today? I opted to go for Mission Impossible.
Yes.
Correct. And I don't know, man. I would ask you what your opinion was, but I think we'll probably get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
Overall, though, what's your experience with... First off, did you ever watch the old show?
The show, I think I saw old reruns of that with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was one of his shows he used to watch. So I do know that I did watch some of the old shows, yes. I did not watch them like religiously or anything, though.
I got you. My parents were into all the espionage. The one that they didn't get into that much was James Bond. Go figure, because that's the one that kind of like spawned the whole like spy thing, you know, back in the 60s.
Yeah, I remember watching Get Smart.
Well, that's different, but yeah, that was a great show. I love Get Smart. And actually, the movie they came out with a couple years back was pretty good, too. The one with Steve Carell and all that stuff.
Yeah, they did a good job of capturing the original
spirit
of the film, or the television show, I should say.
They, so, back, I want to say this was maybe 2010 or 11 or 12, somewhere thereabouts. All the assets that Viacom, which owns Paramount, all of those assets were put on Netflix. And so they had like your Star Treks and your Mission Impossible and stuff like that. And so I was already familiar with all the movies at that point, and I was like, I'm going to go back, because everybody that I talk to that's older than me says that the show was infinitely better than the movies are. And so I was like, I'm going to check this thing out. And
Were they better than movies?
I got about halfway through the first season, and I was like, I don't like this that much. Well, to be fair, so apparently whenever they first conceived of the show, they're like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to have this espionage team. They're going to get together, and they're going to have this thing that they've got to do. They're going to make a plan for it, and they're going to execute it perfectly. And I'm like, well, that's cool, and that's a good idea, but it doesn't make for a very interesting television, you know?
There's no drama.
Yeah, right? All right, we did the thing. Let's go home.
Plan went perfect.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, obviously, if you know that they're always going to get out, I mean, there's a certain, I guess, a suspension of disbelief there where, I mean, back in like the 60s and 70s, you know that these guys are going to get out of it okay. But, I mean, whenever you kind of throw a kink in the plan or whatever, then at that point you're like, oh man, I mean, I know they're going to get out, but at that point it becomes a question of how they're going to do it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. How they're going to have to readjust the plan to like
that original concept would have been a bunch of just like, oh, they almost got caught.
Right.
Whoa, they almost got caught.
Right. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing going on, you know, worth noting. You could fall asleep, you know, once they do the plan and wake up and you really haven't missed anything.
Right.
So, yeah. Originally it was a deal for Leonard Nimoy was on that show, actually.
On the original Mission Impossible?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
I think that was old Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
Like they did Star Trek and they did this and then all that stuff. When they went out of business, it got bought up by Paramount, and so I guess they just kind of passed him around like a prostitute, basically. But,
Poor Leonard Nimoy.
It's good stuff. Yeah, I mean, not poor Leonard Nimoy. He had more money than I do, but it's whatever. It's whatever. But I don't know that that Leonard Nimoy came back for the second season. I think he was just in the first, and then they replaced.
Was he on part of the team?
Yeah, he was one of the team members. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then because like Martin Landau was in there, the guy he was in like Plan 9 from Outer Space, just like random stuff like Space 1999, a bunch of old stuff, But he in the second season they almost did, and I hate to use because this term gets passed around all the time, but almost kind of like a soft reboot of the show where it was like they had the same general premise, but they used essentially new characters all around. And Peter Graves came in, and he actually played Jim Phelps, who's represented in the movie here. And they actually asked him to come back to be in the movie, and he had very strong opinions about that, and so they were not able to get him back.
Really?
Yeah, so I guess what happened was because of the character arc that Jim Phelps goes on in this movie, he was like, that's
Not
totally unrealistic of anything Jim Phelps would do. So he opted to not be in it. And I think up until that point, they actually were planning on this being almost a continuation of the show, but this is kind of, it fits more in now like a remake of the show, essentially, in movie form,
Well, I mean, he probably made the right call then.
Yeah, it does. And this is, I think, and me and Mike have talked a little bit last week about the general like tone of the movie series versus the show. And with my limited experience, I think that this is tonally probably the closest they've gotten to the show, and now it's kind of branched off and done its own thing where it isn't
just mega action movie.
Yeah, it's big stunts and cool gadgets and stuff like that. The gadgets in this thing are a lot more grounded and
I like
realistic and stuff like that. There's no like climbing the Burj Khalifa or like hanging off of like a C-130 while it takes off, and all that. So I mean, it's a little more downplayed in this, but I kind of like that too.
I liked it.
Yeah. This movie, it came out, well, first of all, it was directed by Brian De Palma. I know you've seen some Brian De Palma movies.
I'll take your word for
Probably. He directed The Untouchables.
Seen it?
Yeah. He did Heat.
Seen it, loved it.
Oh, no, he didn't do Heat. I'm sorry.
Damn it.
Yeah, no, he did, he's done a bunch of stuff, but none of it's coming to mind. Oh, he did Snake Eyes with Nicolas Cage.
Terrible.
Yeah, I did. See, that's the thing about De Palma is he's a competent filmmaker, but he's not consistent at all. Like, especially recently, there was a time, like he did Scarface, for example.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it seems like in most recent years, like his quality, while he is still competent, he doesn't necessarily pick the best movies to do. But it was starring, of course, Tom Cruise, had John Voight, Emmanuelle Béart, and I did a little bit of research. She's done a couple of American movies, but she's obviously a French woman, and most of her stuff is foreign, like European films.
She looked super familiar. You're talking about Claire.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked really familiar. I don't know if I just remember seeing her in this movie from when I watched it, years ago, or if I've seen her in other things.
It could, I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything offhand. It looked like I did a quick glance over on the IMDb, and it looked like she did like a couple of chick flicks here in the States and stuff like that. Like, this is probably the most like mainstream thing that she's done.
Okay.
But you might have, who's to say? You're married, you've seen your share of chick flicks. So.
Sure have. Sure have.
Yeah, it has Jean Reno, who I love. Jean Reno. He's from The Professional.
Professional.
Yeah, great movie.
Yep.
Ving Rhames. I love Ving Rhames.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marcellus. You
Yep.
bet. And a little. There's a ton of names in this, but the only other one that I made any sort of note of was Emilio.
Emilio Estevez.
Emilio. Yeah. He's great. And I heard actually, me and Mike were once again discussing this a little bit before, but I guess Tom Cruise apparently had like a cameo in one of the Young Guns movies, and so Emilio decided to do like a little bit part in this movie, and so that was kind of the trade-off. I guess they're like buddies or something.
We'll get there in the movie, but let's just say I was really upset it was just a cameo.
Yeah, he's well, yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
But yeah. The show went from 1966 to 1973. This, on the other hand, was released May the 22nd of 1996. So I guess there's a 30-year lapse in the premieres.
Okay.
It was made on an $80 million budget. Do you dare to guess how much money it brought in worldwide?
Worldwide?
Worldwide. Keep in mind, this is 1996 money. So
I'm still going to say it made $600 million, maybe $700 million.
you would think so. Because this was like a cultural thing. Like, everybody was referencing this movie.
Well, and it's Tom Cruise.
Right.
It's Mission Impossible, which has a past.
Right.
So
he was a bigger ticket back then, too, than he is nowadays. Tom Cruise was.
I was thinking, was this his debut of like his action star role?
I mean, are we counting Top Gun?
No.
Okay.
He doesn't do action. I mean, he does.
He doesn't really do like stunts per
Right.
se. Yeah. I want to say this might have been what got that started.
I think it was. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was thinking about it last night after I watched the movie, and I
Right.
couldn't think of any other.
Right.
Movies
It's a good foot to get started on, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. It actually brought in, what was it, $457 million. Just over.
456. So I was like $1.5 million off.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, 150 million off.
Yeah. Yeah, $150 million.
Okay.
But, which is funny because it seems like whenever this movie came out, like even like Waffle Crisp was making references to this movie, like the whole like breaking into the, get the knock list and all that stuff, you know. And so it kind of surprised me it didn't make more than that, but I guess.
I remember it being a big deal.
Yeah.
I was a junior in high school, or just about to finish my junior year in high school when the movie came out. Mm-hmm. And I remember it being like a really big deal.
Yeah.
Like Mission Impossible, the movie, starring Tom Cruise.
About to go down.
This is going to be awesome. Yeah.
I was, I think 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so tell me, what do you remember when you first saw this movie?
I'm pretty sure I went to the movie theater.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I was part of that 457 million.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I went to the movie theater. I can't remember exactly who was with me,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure I went to the movie theater.
I know with me, I didn't go to the theater. I was in like 7th grade, so I'd have been 12 years old. I mean, I saw, obviously at that point, PG-13 movies were nothing new to me, but I don't know. I guess my parents just didn't want to go, and like we lived kind of out of town, and so I was like probably a good half-hour drive from my friends or whatnot. And so I want to say, I think me and a buddy of mine rented this, and I was like staying over at his house. I must have been like 12 years old, or maybe 13 at that point. And I watched it, and I was like, I guess I don't get it, like the story-wise,
Really?
Yeah. And looking at it now, it's not too complicated, but for a young teen, it's pretty in-depth plot-wise, I guess. It seemed like.
I thought it was pretty straightforward.
Well, yeah, looking back now. Back then, did you pretty much have a grasp on it, or?
I remember thinking Claire was super hot.
Yeah, she is.
I remember thinking Tom Cruise did awesome.
Yeah.
If we haven't established it yet, I'm like super Tom Cruise
You're a
fanboy.
Tom Cruise fan club, yeah.
I'm a big fan of Tom Cruise. Angelina Jolie's dad was pretty cool in it. Mm-hmm. There's John Voight for those.
I always like John Voight.
Yeah.
I think he's a good actor all around.
So
he was in Deliverance, I think. And that was a crazy movie.
he was in Deliverance.
Yeah, he's one of those that's out hanging out with like Ned Beatty and all that, squealing like a pig. Yeah. That was a rough movie to watch. But no, I like John Voight. I didn't really know too much about like Jean Reno back then. I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction, so Ving Rhames was lost on me.
I don't think I'd seen Pulp Fiction yet either. I don't think I had seen The Professional yet either.
Me neither.
So yeah, this was my watching it back and seeing them in the movie. It was more of a whoa. I forgot he's in here.
Yeah.
Than when I first saw it was just a couple actors.
Yeah. There's a couple guys that went on to do bigger and better. A couple people you never see again, really, to speak of. But, Anyway, so this is really going to surprise you then. It was number 1 at the box office on the weekend of its release. Do you know how many weeks it was number 1, Mike?
Well, if it's really going to surprise me, it's either like 1 or like 8.
We're gonna say 3.
3.
So
Okay.
you might not be surprised at all.
No.
That being
I was
the
going
case.
to guess 4.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
So you threw me off with the lead-in. Thanks.
Don't play poker with me. But yeah. So all in all, it's not a movie. Oh, interesting bit of trivia. This was the last movie that was ever released on Betamax.
I don't know what Betamax is.
You don't know what Betamax is?
No.
It was the VHS's like video cassette, their competition.
Well, my household was straight up VHS.
Yeah, and that's all we did too is VHS. And I think most of that was for pirating purposes.
And that's why we don't know who Betamax is.
Mm-hmm.
Or who I don't know.
I guess the issue with Betamax is like it was patented by one company, and then the company that came out with VHS or whatever was very open with their patent, and they're like, if you want to put your stuff on VHS, go for it, you know. And
Smart.
so yeah, Betamax was actually supposedly like a higher quality picture and stuff like that, but VHS won out in the end. Of course, it's obsolete now anyway. So
A lot of the times, those companies that freely license out their, they tend to dominate the competition in the long run, except for Apple.
right, yeah, they're proprietary,
Yeah.
and they've managed to hold on to that, so that's good.
And dominate.
Yeah. Anyway, you want to talk about this movie?
I do.
All right, let's get into it. So we were saying earlier, once again, I gave Mike a copy of this movie to watch, and I don't believe it had subtitles on the opening section because there's some Russian going on.
I didn't really need to know.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know, it may have had them on there. I can't remember. I was just paying attention to the sign. So we open up in Kiev with some dude beating the hell out of another dude with the dead girl in the room,
Right.
and a couple other people watching this all on a TV screen.
Right.
So I know what I need to know.
For the most part, yeah. They're obviously playing this dude, and I guess they wanted the name of some informant or something like that, and they had tricked this guy into thinking that he had killed this girl, and he was like, I can help you with this, just tell me, you know, this information and we'll make all this go away or whatever. And so effectively you got the gist of it for the most part. And so
Yeah.
And we see Emilio Estevez.
That's my first thought. Like, in the movie, as soon as they showed his face, I'm like, is that Emilio Estevez?
Right? Yeah.
Where have you been, my friend?
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. He like, as soon as Mighty Ducks ended, his career ended. Like, it was done. But
And then Tom Cruise busts out and rips off the rubber face.
yeah, it's actually kind of crazy to look back on this and think of all the movies that have come out since, and to like look at that one scene and be like, this is how that all started, huh? Because it's just a real sort of downplay, like a humble scene, I guess. It doesn't start with like, you know, swashbucklers like, you know, ziplining in through a window or anything. I mean, this is real basic stuff here, you know.
He's not even in the room with Tom Cruise.
Right.
So,
yeah.
like, Tom Cruise is the guy who's beating up the other dude.
Yeah.
He's the one conducting the interrogation.
Yeah, because the guy like go to touch his face or whatever, and he just keeps slapping him like, "Don't touch my face!" Like, yeah. But,
Yeah, so he rips off the rubber mask, one
Yeah.
of many.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's something that you see more and more in this movie. And then the whole time, Emilio Estevez is watching this girl. His name is Jack, by the way.
Yes.
Not that that matters because he doesn't stay for long, but whenever we see... finally, Jack is sitting back. He's like, dude, she's been out for too long. So I guess they have some sort of drug that they've given to Claire, the girl that's playing the dead girl on the bed, that actually like stops her heart or something to that effect. And basically, she can only stay under for so long before it becomes like a permanent stay.
Yeah, that's when you find out that the dead hooker in the room's not dead.
Right. Yeah.
And that
after they get the information, they get the guy out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, Tom Cruise gives her the old antidote.
Yeah.
And she resurrects. And the first question she asks is, did we get him?
Did we get it? He's like, we got it.
All right.
Oh, and then they cut to the opening credits, man.
Yep.
If you want to get my blood going, play the Mission Impossible theme song, because it is fantastic stuff, bro.
It's pretty iconic.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can put the Mission Impossible theme song behind just about anything.
I could be doing laundry and feel awesome while
Yeah.
listening
Dun,
to that.
dun, 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 dun,
Right?
dun, dun.
It's fantastic stuff. Yeah. So anyway, after the opening credits, we actually find out that Danny Elfman wrote the score to this movie. Are you familiar with his work at all?
You've asked me about a score every week since we started the show. Have I ever known who
said
the
no.
fuck you're talking about?
No, Danny Elfman, he usually hangs out with Tim Burton, and they...
I know Tim Burton.
Yeah. He did like the score for Edward Scissorhands and Batman Returns and pretty much everything up to like Mars Attacks, and then Tim Burton quickly switched back over to Danny Elfman. So this is not at all like a soundtrack that you would think of when you think of like a Tim Burton movie, you know. But
Well, he didn't write that song.
no, he didn't write that one. I mean, the rest of the score, because it's all kind of like this espionage-y, and they got the bongos going, you know, and the little flute here and there and all that. And it doesn't sound anything like you would think of when you think of like Michael Keaton Batman. But
Right.
yeah, it's good stuff. Anyway,
We cut to an airplane.
yeah, Jim Phelps, we're introduced to him, played by John Voight. Yep.
He lady offers him a movie.
Says, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and then she gives him some other code words, and he hits her back with his code answer,
Yeah.
and then boom, she gives him the tape.
Right. And turns out it's a mission briefing on this tape. What is it? They go into this whole thing about how there's this dude named Alexander Golitsyn, and he has half of the CIA knock list, and basically,
He has the code names.
yeah, that's what it is.
He has the code names of like any agent in like Eastern Europe,
Right.
any CIA agent in Eastern Europe, but it's useless because he doesn't have their
The
real names.
actual names, yeah, to go along with it.
Right.
Which, so if you know the code names, you could probably sniff out, like, we're gonna go look for Jane Morgenstein over there, you know?
Yeah, I'm looking up Jane Morgenstein in the phone book.
Yeah.
And I know when
Oh, I'm
she's
gonna kill that
CIA,
bitch,
I don't
yeah.
need to know her name
Right.
for her to die.
The name is pointless at that time, you know?
Right.
Like,
Like, now I know what to put on
oh,
the
your
death
name's
certificate.
really Mary. Now I can kill you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's not going to help you at all. But regardless, it makes for a good plot. So
We find out that this, what's the guy's name?
Alexander Golitsyn.
Yeah, Golitsyn's gonna steal the knock list. He plans on stealing the knock list at a party
Yeah, there's
at like
this-
the U.S. Embassy or something.
Yeah, there's like this embassy in Prague, and the mission that Jim Phelps has is to essentially have his team go into this party and watch Alexander Golitsyn try to steal this list and get it on film, and then get the list back so that they can apprehend him and they have proof that he actually committed this crime or whatever. And so-
It doesn't sound like a solid plan for me personally. But at the end, I'm curious about what your opinion is on this. In Mission Impossible, one of the things they always do, and they've since it's been used in like a lot of other movies and TV shows, and is this is your mission if you choose to accept it. Should you choose to accept it?
right. No.
Has any of the agents ever like, fuck that?
I'm good.
I'm not doing that shit. You got a
No.
different one, maybe?
Call the next guy.
I
Yeah.
don't want to go to Prague. I was there last week.
Lady, bring another tape over here. Yeah.
I've never seen one agent ever say no.
Doesn't sound like a good. No, I don't like that. Yeah.
And then if you choose to not accept it, we're going to make a whole new tape because this thing's still going to self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Well, and you think about this too. Now this guy knows the plan. Like, what are we gonna do? He's like a loose end now, you know.
Yeah, I'm
Obviously-
pretty sure that's a rhetorical question.
Right. Yeah, I think so. But once again, it's from the old show. It's iconic. You know, anytime you hear that line, you think of Mission Impossible.
Yes.
So, and of course, we see the awesome, like, this tape will self-destruct in 3 seconds or whatever. And so, you see this puff of smoke come from, like, the cassette player or whatever. He lights up cigarettes, like...
Oh, I like how
the
it like
smoke
started
out.
the countdown, and he like goes ahead and lights up the cigarette, takes a big drag in, so just as the smoke comes up,
Yeah.
he mixes the cigarette smoke.
cigarette in, yeah.
And I was like, that's pro move right there.
Mm-hmm. Like a boss, dude.
They ain't no amateur spy. That's a pro spy.
Oh, yeah. He's been on the receiving end of that cigarette a time or two.
So now we're in Prague. Mm-hmm. Cut to Prague because he accepted it, and we get a chance to really meet
The team.
The team, yeah, Jim
Yeah.
and his team.
Right, we see Jim, he's the leader of the team, Jim Phelps, just like the old show. We meet Hannah, and her job is essentially to like try to observe, get eyes on this guy, Alexander Golitsyn, once they make it into the party. We see...
She don't do shit.
No, she really doesn't.
Hannah doesn't do anything.
She doesn't make any contribution.
She is just
really.
a pair of eyeballs.
Right. Basically somebody that they can kill off so it has more dramatic effect, I think.
But she does get a pair of
Yeah, she does. And then we meet Sarah, and she's actually like Ethan Hunt's liaison, who Ethan Hunt plays. He's the Tom Cruise, played by Tom Cruise. She's actually the liaison, and she's actually going to make contact with Ethan Hunt once he goes into the party. Ethan is disguised as the senator, Senator Walter, who was supposedly attending this party in Prague. And then we meet Jack, who is played by Emilio Estevez. He's like the tech guy.
Right.
Does all the computer hacking.
The hacker.
Yeah, he does the invention stuff. He's like the Q lab, basically, of Mission Impossible. And then we meet Claire, who happens to be...
A dime piece?
A dime piece, bro. Like, if there was a 15-cent piece, that would be her, man. She's a definite 10.
And she's married to Jim.
Oh, goofy John Boyd, man. He's probably got 20 years on her, for starters.
More.
Yeah. He doesn't look young in this movie.
No, so it was so confusing. And, like, Tom Cruise, or Ethan, gets into, like, this coffee conversation about how terrible the coffee is.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, I made that coffee. And he's like, this is worse. Is the sludge you made in some other town, he said.
Yeah, in Kiev or whatever.
Yeah, and then John Voight's like, don't talk to my wife like that or something.
Yeah, don't make fun of my wife's coffee or whatever, yeah. Which is, like, forced exposition. Like, we have to establish that this is his wife, and he like, can't be sitting around looking at wedding photos. So they just force that piece of dialogue in.
But they already told us that when he was getting his mission brief.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
They're like, and your wife.
Your wife, yeah.
Claire will be there.
Mm-hmm.
Why? No professional briefing would ever say your wife. It'd
No.
be, if your wife's name was Claire, it would say Claire, and then the last name will be there on your team as well.
Right. Realistically speaking...
She wouldn't be on your team.
No, she wouldn't be. And that's what I was thinking is there... Oh, okay, so your wife's Claire? Yeah, she's going over there.
Yeah, we can't have you guys on the same team.
You can both work here, but she's going to go hang out with that guy.
Yeah, that'll fuck the dynamics up.
Yeah, and it does become a question of, like, where your alliances are. Like, if this guy's getting away and you see your wife is about to die over here, you're probably going to go help the wife, you know?
Yeah, and...
It's a liability.
When Tom Cruise brings her back from the dead, I guess, in that opening scene, and they make eye contact, it almost looks like they have some type of romantic involvement.
I don't know that they'd acted on it, but yeah, it looks like a little something, especially from him.
There's some real feelings there.
Yeah.
We know at least that.
Right. I would agree.
So now we know that the guy that Tom Cruise, like, kind of, or the chick that Tom Cruise is kind of, like, longs for a little bit, is his boss's wife.
Bad move.
And his boss also happens to be, like, his mentor.
Mm-hmm. And they even say that later on in the movie, they're like, I know that this affects you, like, professionally as well as personally. You really liked him, and all that. And you're like, oh, okay. So he's kind of been, I guess, this protege of Jim Phelps this whole time,
Exactly.
So, yeah. We get to something that you wouldn't think would pay off, but they actually talk about it. And when they bring up the coffee thing, they're like, where were you when we were in Kiev anyway? And they're like, where were you, the Plaza or whatever? And he's like, no, I was in the Drake Hotel, Chicago.
Whoa!
Yeah, it seems like a throwaway line because they're just fucking around basically, but it actually factors in later on.
Yeah, it's a big
kind
piece.
of a weird way, but yeah,
it's a really big piece later in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
We see Emilio's got some cool gadgets.
Gadgets like crazy,
like gum bombs.
Yeah, there's a piece of gum. Half of it's red, half of it's green.
You mash it together,
fold them together, and then it turns into a bomb.
And you got 5 seconds to get out.
He has. I'm wearing my glasses, so you can't see the hand movement I'm making. But there's some glasses that he has where there's a camera built into the bridge, like right where the nose is. Mm-hmm. And so there's that, which you can actually see the image on like this little transmitter that you wear like a watch. You can see what is going on the camera and the glasses. Of course, they got the earpieces, so you can hear each other talking.
I think it's funny, man. This is 1996, and this is like spy tech.
Yeah, this seems really antiquated by today's standards.
Yeah, because here we are just, 22 years later, and we had Google Glass already.
Yeah.
Where you can go online through your glasses.
Right. You can Skype people from your wrist and stuff.
Right. We have Apple Watches and all kinds of Samsung watches.
Yeah.
And, so this stuff seems pretty outdated.
It does. But that's kind of the charm of it, too, I think.
Yeah.
Because I always go through, whenever I'm watching something like this, or like James Bond, or like 24, or something like that. And I'm like, I wonder, how technology held up. And the first season of 24, they're using PDAs. Nobody uses a PDA anymore.
Nope.
But yeah, we
into the party.
Mm-hmm. We cut to the party. Jack Emilio Estevez is kicking in the elevator. That's his where he's running things. He's hacking into stuff and watching everybody do their thing. And then we go to. Ethan walks in to the party. He's dressed up like this old ass senator.
He's got this southern drawl going.
Sounds like Foghorn Leghorn or something.
Right, pretty accurate.
Yeah. And then we see that this girl Hannah is on the stairs, and she has these glasses that I guess they're almost kind of like infrared, if you will. But the other girl, Sarah, is her name, I think.
The liaison?
Yeah, the one that hooks up with Tom Cruise after he gets to the party. She winds up using this perfume spray, whatever, and she actually sprays the back of this Alexander Golitsyn's head.
Nails it perfectly, by the way.
Yeah.
Without looking.
It's so funny.
And no one in the party noticed that she held this perfume like 2 feet above her
Right.
own head and was like...
Right behind me, yeah.
And he didn't feel it.
That's the crazy thing about it, is if you're this dude that's getting ready to do some like super illegal shit, and all of a sudden you're feeling like this mist on your head,
I've been
I would have bore it right there. Like,
Yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
He didn't even flinch. He doesn't
No,
notice.
he didn't realize anything. Of course, this other girl, Hannah, like locks onto him because she adjusts her glasses, and then they wind up going to this elevator, which is supposed to be this like top secret facility in this building. Bless you.
Thank you. It was like a embassy or something, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's Marine guards.
Yep. And they show up there, and they're trying to go down, but apparently there's a little like thumbprint scanner that's on the elevator button. And so what it's doing is basically getting your thumbprint and seeing if you're authorized to go downstairs. And sure enough, they're not. Which, if they work for the government, I would just give them authorization to go downstairs into this embassy.
There's so many weird things that happen throughout this.
It's kind of strange. The IMF almost acts like it's its own separate entity from the government. But the government, if they all like coordinated, could make things a lot easier.
But their headquarters at Langley,
Right.
which is CIA.
The CIA headquarters, yeah.
Maybe are they just not allowed to use the words CIA or the letters CIA?
I think that they wanted, like, the IMF comes back from the old TV show. It was just a play off of the name of the show. It's the Impossible Mission Force. So
That's what IMF stands for.
yeah, you'll notice they never say that in the movie because it sounds cheesy as hell.
Dude, I swear to God, I thought the I was at least for international.
No, Impossible Mission Force.
Fuck.
Yep, that's no joke. Look it up. Google that shit. But so anyway, Jack finally hacks into the system, and he puts Sarah's ID and stuff in there, and so the Marines are like, oh, okay, yeah, she's already in the system. She's good to go.
It only took like 10 minutes for your ID to pop up, but seems legit.
Nothing suspicious about that. Yep. You're good, ma'am. And so anyway, if it were me and I was dressed up like the Sinner, I'd be like, just let me downstairs, dude. Obviously, I'm authorized, but...
So, yeah, anyways, they let him in, or they get in.
Yeah.
They go inside, sits down at, Tom Cruise sits at the computer, and he leaves his glasses on a book.
Right.
And
They're trying to set it up so that they can see this guy download the information off of this computer downstairs.
It seems like a lot of work to get a camera in there.
I mean, you would think there would already be a camera down there.
How is there not?
That's what I'm saying. Like, any government, security, military, anything like that is going to have a camera on it,
There's without a doubt. Even if they're afraid of like sensitive information on the computer screens, they have all kinds of like things they put over the screens so the cameras can't see what's on the screens. But you still know who is in there,
Right.
on the computer.
Well, it's not like it's 1996. Like, cameras weren't a thing at that point. Like, maybe back when the show first came on, like, that wasn't a regular thing. But, I mean, it
didn't make any sense.
It didn't. I mean, it's still, I'm able to give concessions to stuff that don't make sense if they do it for the sake of good storytelling. And so I think that this actually, like, it's a great scene.
Yeah, it's cool. But at this point, I'll go ahead and talk about the whole mission. To me makes no damn sense. All right, we are the IMF, which I thought was way cooler until you tell me what it stood for.
It's not.
But like, so we have pretty much full jurisdiction over the world.
Right.
Like, we're assassins and stuff.
Yeah.
So why are we even letting this guy get to the computer terminal in the first place?
Just taser his ass on the way into the party.
And make sure, or if I'm down at the computer, what I'm doing is getting the list off the computer.
Yeah.
Like, it's done. There's no more lists on the computer.
Or you wait downstairs with the freaking machine gun and blow this cocksucker's head off.
What the fuck? Making all kinds of bad decisions just so they can get him on film.
Right. I mean, once you're at that point of like law breaking, there's these government entities that are after you, like, due process and stuff like that. kind of becomes like a side thing, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not like he's breaking into somebody's house. Like, this is a big deal.
No
you know?
one's gonna notice this dude is gone. All right, we're just gonna wipe him off the map. He'll be
Right.
gone forever. No big deal. And our point is proven really quickly.
Right. Yeah.
So they're trying to get out of there. He's on his way down.
Right. The elevator keeps screwing up, basically.
Yeah, Emilio's like, "What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm not doing this."
Right. And Jim Phelps is watching the whole thing from the hotel, and so he just opens the elevator door, and they hop down underneath.
Which is weird, because so that means Jim has control of the elevator as well.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. I would automatically, like, after you find out what happened later in the movie, I would revert back to that. Like, wait, somebody else was doing the elevator too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then Jim opens the door. They're able to get in the elevator shaft, but just they have to get underneath it.
Right. Yeah, they're ducking down and stuff, yeah.
And then the elevator launches basically up.
Well, so they go through Ethan and this girl, Sarah. They wind up getting out of the... They don't actually show, like, how they exit the building. They just kind of walk through the elevator shaft and then they're outside.
Yeah, they just, like, pop out a little door and they're like, "Hey, we're here."
And it looked like somewhere outside where you'd, like, have a dumpster or something. But,
Some type of back door.
right. And so, anyway, they get out and this guy, Golitzin, he's in the room. He does the thing exactly like they had intended to, and he downloads the list. And then the elevator starts acting wonky, and so he takes the same exit that they did. Well, meanwhile, this elevator's getting launched up to the top floor or whatever, and
Jack is having a bad ride.
Yeah, he is. That's it.
He's impaled
Yeah, it's
by giant
this
spikes.
giant thing that pops down and like stabs him right in the head.
I don't know if those are supposed to be brakes.
That's not a very good braking system.
No. I don't know what the hell that is.
Instead, we're gonna stab the ceiling.
But
that'll
it's,
stop it.
It's got warning hash marks on it, like the yellow and black, warning logo,
Right.
hazardous thing on them. So they're there on purpose.
The only thing I think of is maybe if the elevator's like falling, it maybe could grab the elevator. But that seems kind of silly. You'd think there'd be like emergency brakes on the track. Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine this claw machine mechanism holding this elevator.
The way your brain works
That's so
sometimes.
dumb. Anyway.
So Jack is impaled in the face by one of these spikes, and you see it on film.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it cuts away pretty, but you still see it though.
You see
like
the
a split
impact.
second, yeah.
And I'm like, "No, Emilio!" Heartbroken, dude.
Yeah.
Almost ruins the whole movie for me.
Why does he not get more work? I like Emilio.
So do I. I don't know.
I love Young Guns. I think I actually like Young Guns 2 better.
Both of them are really good.
They're really good movies. Yeah, I don't get it, but whatever.
So we lose Emilio.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Oh, what is it here? Jack bites it is what I wrote down. Literally bites it with his mouth. But yeah. So this Golitzin character is out in the open, and Ethan and Sarah, this girl that he's with, decide that they're just gonna kind of like pretend like they're making out or whatever, which it looked like they actually might have had a little something going on anyway.
I think they're just really good at what they do. I'm not kidding.
If it's kissing a girl, I'd probably be pretty good at it.
I was looking into it as well. Like, I was watching that scene thinking, like, I can
Getting
make out with her.
nibbles on the cheek and stuff.
Yeah, but if you notice, like, every time he goes in for the cheek, he moves his head and, like, talks to his
he's
watch.
like talking and thing.
Yeah, so, like, they're just really good at acting.
I think you're right.
And she's even, like, watching something, too.
Yeah, she's watching over at that doorway because Golitzin's out running around.
Yeah. So she's looking over at Glitzen. She's still smiling and act like she's canoodling with the dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just really good at that.
You might be right. And it did look natural because it had me fooled for a second. But anyway, after the death of Jack and Golitzin's out in the open, basically Jim decides to call an abort.
Yeah, more.
Right. What had happened is early in the movie they said that if they aborted the mission, then they were going to go back to their hotel.
The safe house.
At the safe house at 4 o'clock in the morning, or 0400 hours.
Yeah.
Yep. And so
he yells abort, and Ethan Hunt is like, "Fuck off.
Fuck this, yeah, I'm going to get this guy." And so he decides what he's going to do is instead, because Jim Phelps is going to their location, he's like, "I'm going to go meet up with Phelps." He's like, "I want you to follow Golitzin and make sure he doesn't get away." And so she's like, "All right, I got you." Mm-hmm. And so he goes over to follow Phelps, and all of a sudden he looks down on his watch and he sees that like what Phelps is seeing, which is like this
He's being shot.
yeah, there's this
You
gun
just
that's
see a
going
pistol
off, yeah,
in a hand.
and he looks down and there's blood all over his hands. Yeah.
So Jim's shot, falls in a river.
Right. And then we cut to
Hannah's getting in her transportation vehicle, which she was instructed to do. She's
did.
dead.
Yeah.
Explosion.
The car that Claire was in too,
Right.
because right whenever Ethan walks by, he sees Claire in the car.
Yeah.
And then we see
So Claire and Hannah dead. Mm-hmm. Then we see. Oh, he calls it off. The Ethan Hunt tells
Ethan's like, no, we're done.
we have to abort now.
Right.
We have to abort. This is bad. Everybody's dying. Let's get out of here, Sarah.
Right.
And just as that happens, she sees the target, Galitzin, getting stabbed.
Right. She goes over. There's this weird doorway thing with like this mesh
like a
metal
gate.
thing. Yeah. And Galitzin's getting the shit stabbed out of him. He's just like shaking this, like prison shaking this dude. And so anyway, Sarah goes over there. Why she did is beyond me.
It makes no sense because she sees the stabbing before she gets to the. She's a good
What's going
like
on? Yeah.
4 feet away, let's say, and there's a gate between her and the stabber,
Right.
and she still decides to like.
The guy can't get to her.
No, so she still decides to go peek her face through the slots
Right.
of the fence.
I'm gonna rub my body up against this gate here. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
And she's trying to get the disc out of the dude's pocket.
Right.
So it makes absolutely no sense to me.
Right.
But she gets shanked.
She does. And Ethan goes, and after he finds her body, he pulls a pocket knife. It's this black pocket knife. The blade's black. The handle of it's black.
Looks military-istic.
Yeah, some kind of military.
Looks pretty badass, actually.
I do like that knife. It's pretty legit. And so he's like, "Fuck, I guess that's everybody."
Team's dead.
Yeah. And so he hightails it over to this phone booth where he calls the director of the IMF, which is this guy, Kittredge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he has, I actually kind of like that little mechanism that he has where he like unscrews the receiver of the phone or whatever and throws this little metal piece in there and screws it back together. That's kind of cool.
What's it do?
He didn't have to use a quarter.
Oh, he hacked
I think that was it, yeah. Or it might have even given him a secure line, I'm thinking too.
Well, he asked in the scene.
Oh, yeah,
He's like, "Are we secure?"
Yeah.
I'm like, give us your code.
Yeah.
Gives the code, and they're like, stand by, go and secure.
Yeah, so they can secure the line on their end.
Right.
So yeah, I think he just overrode the quarter.
I think you're right. I think he just.
Who doesn't have a quarter? Like, it would be so much cheaper for the government to be like, here's a quarter. Like, you don't need the stupid wire thing. If you need to make a call, we got you. Here's a whole roll of quarters. You're fine. Anyway, so...
Kittredge says, "I'll meet you in an hour."
Yeah, I'll meet you in an hour. And Ethan's like...
You're a problem.
You're here? Yeah. Like, what the hell are you doing here? You should be at Langley, basically, you know? And so he's like, give me an hour. And he, like, tells him where to meet him. It's this restaurant that's basically made of aquariums. And it's kind of a cool setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The place is called, like, Aquarium.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of, what was it, on Family Guy? It was one where, like, Peter was fighting the chicken or whatever. And, like, they were in this mall, and they go to this pet store, and it's all, like, fish aquariums, and they call it the Age of Aquariums. That was so random, but so funny.
Really random.
Anyway, so Ethan sits down, and he's talking to Kittredge, and he was like, man, I'm sorry. I don't even know what to say to you at this point. And he's like, look, here's passports, and we got tickets. We'll get you out of town as soon as we can.
Get you back to Langley.
Yeah.
So we can do a
Get
back
you
brief.
little debriefing, yeah. And Ethan starts looking around, and he's like, wait. He's like, I recognize these people in this room, you know?
Yeah, he starts calling out other IMF agents
Yeah.
that were at the party.
And it's people that we, as viewers, had already seen before, too, but we didn't realize.
We had no idea.
Yeah. Like the waiter, he's the guy that had been at the party. There's like this Russian couple that's over there, and they're eating at the restaurant. There's this guy sitting by himself, and he was one of the waiters at the party. And so you're just like, he's like, why did you have another IMF team there? And so that's whenever Kittredge comes down, and he says, well, we suspected there was a mole, and we kind of set this whole thing up as bullshit. That's not really a knock list that they have. It's just a bullshit thing. And we suspected that it was somebody in your team that was the leak. And so...
You're the only one alive.
Yeah, so
Must
have
be
did it.
you.
Yeah,
Must be you.
Looks like we've looked into your mom's bank accounts, and she has like $150,000 she didn't have a couple months ago, and so we think that you've been getting a cutback, you know, and so that's basically where they're at, you know.
So Tom Cruise like starts freaking out.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what the fuck? What do you mean? This whole
Yeah.
thing was a mole hunt, and now you think I'm the mole.
Right. I had nothing to do with any of this. Yeah. And
He says, you think I'm dangerous. You haven't seen me when I'm
yeah,
angry.
he's like, what does he say? He goes, you seem to be getting upset. He's like, you've never seen me upset or whatever. Yeah.
If you think
Pretty
I did
good.
all this,
Oh yeah.
wait till you see what I do when I'm upset. That's what I think it's kind of what he gets to.
Right. And so anyway, he realizes his only chance to escape is to use the exploding gum.
Gum bomb.
Yeah, great stuff. And he smashes the red light and the green light, throws them against the aquarium. It explodes, everything spills everywhere, and he bolts.
And by the way, I think that's the first time we ever see.
The 90s water wall run thing.
No,
I talked about in Titanic.
no, the blade hands run like super fast.
Oh, God.
Tom
He
Cruise
does
run.
that. It's
like
like now in every movie. he
Every
does it.
movie that's his run.
Yeah.
But so I think that was the birth of that run.
Right. Later on in this franchise, Mission Impossible 3, he does this long run where he's like in China or something.
He runs a marathon with blade hands.
Well, I mean, it's not an official marathon, but yeah, it's he's like going over like these, this whole water system. He's like jumping over stuff, running across these bridges, and like it does a close in, and then slowly it like pans out, and he's just doing it, dude. Just getting it. Yeah, man. Yeah, the run's fantastic. He didn't do that in Top Gun.
No, I think that was the birth of that run.
Yeah, I can see that.
So then he goes back to the safe house.
Yeah, he goes back to the
Why
safe
the
house.
fuck would he go back there?
You would think the government would know what the safe house
The
is.
IMF is paying for the safe house.
Right.
Pretty sure they're gonna know where it's at.
Yeah. And they're going to look there, obviously. I mean, obviously. You know, I mean, the only thing I think of is that perhaps they thought it was too stupid. They figured that that's so dumb they wouldn't even go back and look.
Well,
you
they
know?
wouldn't go there to even necessarily look. They'd go there to launch an
Collect
investigation.
evidence,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're gonna launch an investigation against Ethan Hawke.
We're going to pull his laptop. We're going to start looking at, like, some of these passports he has. And
Maybe
stuff like
he's
that.
got some suspicious shit in the safe
Yeah.
house.
Big wads of money maybe in a bag somewhere.
Right.
Something, yeah.
Nope.
No.
He just goes back there and he starts doing research.
Mm-hmm. I like where he crunches the light bulb.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
Yeah. He takes his jacket off and unscrews his light bulb and then like smashes it real quiet and then like sprinkles it on the ground so he can hear if somebody is like walking into the safe
Right.
house. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's pretty cool.
And so he starts doing some research because when he was talking to Kid Rich at the restaurant, Kid Rich said something about job 314.
Yeah, Job 314, there's a Czechoslovakian by the name of Max.
Oh yeah, arms dealer.
Black market arms dealer, and that's the person that wanted to buy the knock list in the first place. And so he starts going through the pre-Google days of the internet and like trying to find out as much as he can about Job 314 and Max and all this other stuff.
Well, this is where it's funny
Yeah.
to me, and maybe it's just because it's something I noticed. First, he searches job. It's the first word he searches. No search results.
No search for job?
Then he searches a couple other things, but then he looks up and he sees a Bible, and he's like, Book of Job?
Job 314, perhaps. Yeah.
So it's spelled the same as job, to be clear. So he searches Book of Job,
Right.
24 matches.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, at first, what is it he puts
Wouldn't those
down?
24 matches come up, though, when he hit job?
Right. The computer doesn't know what
How you
inflection
pronounce
you're using
it.
on a syllable. Yeah. What was the thing here he put into the computer? Because I wrote down in here that the internet doesn't work like that. Oh, he puts in like something about like Bible or whatever, and it says 126 entries, and I'm like, even back then, that seems pretty skimpy on the Bible entries on the internet.
I'm wondering what database they're on.
It's, man, I don't know.
They're not on Internet Explorer.
No, it looks like crap.
But
This is back in the day, though, when there was the number of people that had the internet versus the people that didn't was way smaller, you know, so.
Well, I had the internet.
Yeah.
And
We had, like, AOL and stuff.
yeah, and let's see. Yeah, AOL was already around at this time.
Right.
I mean, we're not talking about the bulletin board system.
No, this isn't DOS stuff. This is, pretty, in the grand scheme of things, pretty recent.
So I don't know what database he's searching, but it's
I don't know.
jacked.
It's like shit, yeah. And then I think it's funny because he goes through and he goes onto some of these like Bible boards and he actually decides he's going to try to get in touch with Max. And so what he does is he types in, Max, at job314. I'm like, that's not how the internet works.
At the time, whoever's writing this script,
They knew nothing about the internet. Yeah.
and it was pretty new.
It was.
So who
It
knows?
was easier back then to bullshit your way through it than it is now, because everybody knows that wouldn't fly now, you know. But that would be like if I tried to get in touch with you and I was like, well, I know his name's Mike. And so I just went on to some random board and said, Mike at casinoroyalewcheese. Send. Never gonna happen,
No.
but whatever. So anyway,
Does he fall asleep then?
yeah, he's fucking around on the internet, and he's been sending out all these emails basically to try to get a bite from Max.
He's on a bunch of different boards.
Yeah,
all
he's-
24 of them.
Right. All yeah. Yeah, he's hard at work, man.
And in his message to Max, he just quotes Job 3:14.
Yeah, the scripture itself, yeah. And so imagine having to type that. Like nowadays, you can just copy and paste.
Well, he does
Back
it.
then, there were only 24 entries. So.
Oh, and he does it in like German and
Yeah.
Czechoslovakian, and he does it in a bunch of different languages.
Which is funny. He should have just done it in Czech, because he knows that this is the Czech person, you know, Max is. But anyway, yeah, he starts to drift off into sleep, and all of a sudden he hears like the tinkling of the glass from the bulb that he had sprinkled on the ground, and the door opens. It's Jim Phelps. And he's like,
What the
fuck? And Jim walks in, and his hands are all bloodied up and everything, and he's like, you're supposed to save me on the bridge, and I needed you.
I came back. Or you're supposed to come for me. I crawled out of the river.
Right. And then, so sure enough, he like reaches his hand out, and all of a sudden, he like grabs, and it's Claire, the girl that was supposed to be in the car and supposed to be dead,
And that Tom Cruise saw sitting in the car.
but she's not dead, and he's of course suspicious of this woman, and he's like, hey, you know, I'm getting thrown for this, and it might be you, you know,
Well,
because
he's
I don't know who did
He's
this.
holding her at gunpoint.
Yeah, he is.
Then he like sexually assaults her.
But
He's
I
like-
mean, can you blame him?
He's like
I'm just messing with
he's feeling for some type of mic or
We're gonna edit that out.
or
but-
weapon.
Yeah.
And like just like gropes all over her and like
Right.
slams her on top of the bed and gets on top of her, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. He's obviously very agitated, for lack of a better word at this point.
I still don't think you're allowed to do that.
What?
Just grab women and throw them all around because you're agitated.
I mean, he's been disavowed, so he can do whatever he wants. Ain't getting paid no more. No, he thinks that she might have done it. She doesn't even know at this point that Jim has passed away. And so he actually tells her, like, she's like, where's Jim and where's the rest of the team? He's like, they're dead, you know, like, I'm the only one that's left. And so he thinks very suspiciously of her. And so he's like, what the fuck are you even doing back here? And she's like, whenever he said abort, we're supposed to come back here at 4 a.m. He's like, oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. And so that's basically in a scene, except he gets an email from Max.
Right. So
Yeah.
it worked.
Mm-hmm.
His attempt worked.
Yeah. The message from Max basically said, meet me at the corner of this street and this street. Tell the guy there that you need a match.
And buy a pack of Dunhills and ask the man sitting on the bus bench for a match.
Is it Dunhill or Dunghill?
Dunhill.
Okay. I wouldn't smoke anything with Dunghill.
Dunhill. It's a pretty famous like European brand.
cigarette.
Yeah.
I got you. When I think of European cigarettes, I always think of Die Hard, because he has like, he's out of cigarettes or whatever, and he's like, oh, these are European cigarettes. And then he finally gets one, and I'm like, man, I bet that's like the best cigarette you've ever had after all this shit going on, you know? But so he goes to the corner, and he makes contact with the guy. They throw a shroud over his head and take him to meet Max. For long story short.
Right.
Yeah. And then Max basically gets in contact.
Max is an elderly English woman.
She is. Not Czechoslovakian.
Or male.
Right. And so anyway, he says, hey, I want you to give me... How much did he want from her?
$150,000.
$150,000 for all this shit. That's nothing.
150. He's like, I want $150,000.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's really going to care.
Yeah, and she almost scoffs him out the room. Like,
Right.
I would never.
Right.
That is entirely too much.
Oh, you thought just because you were going to come here that I'd give you money.
Yeah. What do you want $150,000 for? The knock list.
The knock list. She's like, I have the knock list. And he's like, no, you don't, motherfucker. And as it turns out, tells her that the whole thing was a setup, that there's probably a transmitter type deal that's going to tell him once she tries to load up that list, which they're lucky as hell that she hadn't already done it as soon as she got the thing. But he tells her that as soon as she loads it up, that they're gonna have IMF teams all over her location. And so she's like, well, I guess we'll find out.
He says in 30 seconds, then he says in 10 minutes, and then when she goes to put the disc in, he's like, I think you have about 2 minutes.
About 2 minutes, yeah. So she throws in the disc. It starts out fine, and then it takes longer and longer to load this thing up.
It looks like something's heating up.
Yeah, she's like, maybe it's just the hard drive heating up.
Because they're measuring it with some type of device.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing where, like, you have a status bar on your computer or whatever.
No, they had like another
no,
radio.
it was a separate thing.
That like lays on top of it with this little antenna. It was like a thermometer. And it was like checking the internal temperature of the drive. And
Really?
as that got higher, that's when they knew there was something going on. It was sitting out.
Were they really measuring the temperature on this hard drive?
That's what it appeared to be, but I don't know.
I figured it was just like you have a thing that's like, oh, your program's like 33% loaded up.
No, the radio was like, he was like 32, then 33. 52, then 53.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then she was like, that's when her eyes are like start getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Why would you measure the
I
temperature?
don't know.
That's not how computers work.
I don't know.
Whatever, man. I hope that that's not the case, because that's really dumb. But how's that going to tell you anything?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's
why
how
would
they
it be
know.
at 32 degrees?
I don't know.
Did you have it in the freezer? Like, what the hell?
I don't know any of this stuff, but that's how they know that Tom Cruise that Ethan Hunt is not lying.
Whatever. That's weird, man. Anyway, so meanwhile, she has a guy that's out on this balcony, and he's basically keeping an eye out because she suspects something might be up. And so he's looking out to see if any like suspicious individuals pull up. And sure enough, like this most obvious van full of people in white coats show up. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
Blending right the fuck in.
Jesus Christ.
And so anyway, they come out, and like one of them has like a metal detector and like all this stuff. And so they go into this building, and of course at this point she's like, I'm out of here, this is crazy, you know. So they take this back way out of the building. They hopped out in the car.
You don't see any of that.
No, they don't. They just cut to
Them in the car.
Yeah. And so anyway, he's like, I can get you the real knock list. And he's like, how much were you going to give Job for the list? And because he figures out that Job is the person that had the deal with her in the first place. And so she's like, well, I was going to
And he wants to meet Job.
$6 million, yeah. And he said, I want $10 million, and I want to meet Job at the time that I do the drop-off of the list. And she's like, okay, I can do that. She's like, but I want both parts of the list. I'm not doing, or what is it?
I want the whole list.
The whole list, not just Europe.
Yeah, I don't want just Eastern Europe. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, I want the whole thing this time. And he's like, that's fine. He goes back to meet up with Claire again, and he's getting all of his
Still at the same safe house.
It's been like 12 hours since
Right.
all this went down. He still hasn't had a wink of sleep. Might as well take a nap there too, you know.
Yeah.
And he's getting all the guns together and money and passports and all that. And
He's on the disavowed list.
Mm-hmm. He is. And she's like, well, I'll help you out with getting this list. And he's like, that's fine. And then they start recruiting.
The disavowed.
Yes. They start, recruiting this from this list of disavowed agents. Now we cut to the train. And this is a great scene, too.
It's a really good scene. I do want to mention, though, the first two people they talk to are right on board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they have no problem with this.
Yeah. Okay.
If I was disavowed for... Well, we find out later why one of them's down for it.
Yeah.
With Krieger. Franz Krieger, which is the Jean Reno character. I think that the Ving Rhames, the Luther Stickle, he would have been kind of a tougher sell. He's down for it, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think he's excited about the opportunity to hack.
This job that they're going to do, which Ethan Hunt describes as like the Mount Everest of hacks.
There's 3 levels of security, retinal scans, and weight detectors.
I wrote it all down here, yeah.
Go
So
for
there's
it.
a voice print ID. So you walk up to this door, and you got to say your name.
So if you have a cold that day, you can't go to work.
Right. You lose your voice, you go to a concert the night before, it's done.
You're done.
Yeah. You might as well call in sick.
Yep.
And then there's a 6-digit access code to enter that same door, which they don't have the code.
Right.
Then, no, yeah, they don't have that code. There's a retinal scan, so it scans your eyes to make sure that you're that person.
That's at the next door.
Right. There's like a little foyer once you get in the first door.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so then there's the retinal scan, There's an electronic key card, which there's one person in that room, and then the guy that's going into the central hub thing, he has the other card, and they have to stick them in and like turn them at the same time, kind of like a nuke, you know. And then
They won't have that card either.
They don't have that card, no. And then once you get inside of this main hub, where there's this, where they are storing the knock list on this computer, there's temperature and sound and floor sensors. So if the temperature gets too high, whenever the guy's not in there, if there's any sound or if there's anything on the floor, then the alarms go off, everything gets put on lockdown.
There's only one way in other than that.
Right.
The laser guided, or protected.
Yeah, the vent in the ceiling. Yeah, there's a vent in the ceiling which has a laser net protecting it, which that doesn't even factor in at all story wise.
Nope.
But you gotta have some kind of security there. But yeah, it has this laser net, so if the beam gets broken, then the thing gets put on lockdown once again.
I do think that they threw the thermal, like the temperature check thing, strictly in there to explain why there's an air conditioning vent.
I would have to agree with that. Yeah, because even the temperature change thing didn't really make much of a difference either.
No, so
the overall heist.
I think they had to explain to the audience of the film, why would you leave a big hole in the ceiling for such a room that you want to keep so secure?
Right. Now, Mike, here's where I run into another problem. Why is there no camera in this room? Why would they not put a camera in this room?
I don't know if you remembered, but we established at the beginning
that they're stupid about this stuff.
Although we can have cameras in our glasses,
right,
and in other cool things, we don't have office
like a room
surveillance.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Yeah,
it doesn't happen.
Which is funny too. Like, there's no motion detector in this room. I have a motion detector in my house. It's part of my security system.
I had a security system growing up as a kid.
Yeah, it's like $20 a month.
Yeah, and we had a motion detector down the hall.
Yeah,
so that if you walked past the hallway, it went off.
Yeah. Cameras aren't new in 1996. I'm just letting you guys know that. Like, why wouldn't there be? So there's already a guy sitting in the room next door. Why isn't he staring at a monitor of what's going on in the room?
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't know. But anyway, I digress. They go ahead. Luther Stickle, played by Ving Rhames, and Franz Krieger are on board, and they decide they're going to carry out this hack job. And so
the only condition being is that Stickle gets to keep the equipment.
Right.
The hacking.
Jean Reno doesn't have any. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And so anyway, he hacks the system and makes it look like sets off all these fire alarms in the building. And so anyway, they all dress up like firefighters, and they go into the building where this
Langley
knock list. Yeah,
they're in Langley.
Right. And so anyway, there's three of them. There's Claire. There's Jean Reno. Luther Krieger, and then Claire, and she ducks out because she goes to change clothes real quick after they've been admitted into the building. And so there's at one point, what is it that they're wanting to do? There's a guy that's like, hey, I thought that there was another firefighter with you guys, because there were originally three, and then she ducks out. And so Krieger, is gonna kill this dude, slit his throat.
Tom Cruise has to stop
him.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise don't do that. What are you doing?
We see Tom Cruise putting his third rubber mask of the film into a bag.
Yeah.
Because Krieger and Claire don't need rubber masks, but he does.
Right.
Or maybe they all had rubber masks.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
And we just didn't see
I don't even know why they're wearing rubber masks at this point, because they're wearing helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. But anyway.
And there's no cameras in the building to
obviously
see their face.
Yeah. Only in the glasses. That's it. Yeah. So anyway, Claire dresses up like this office professional woman, and she goes into the break room where this dude that has access to the room, William Dunlow,
the only guy
that gets to go in there.
Yeah.
He's the one with the card that does a retinal scan, the voice thing, all that stuff. And so anyway, he goes in there and gets some coffee, and she has this stupid.
By the way, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So he's on a coffee break, just as he
showed up. Yeah.
Just punched in, and now he's
me
on
at
coffee.
Work. Was it 9? Oh shit, man!
Any soldier ever,
right? I already worked like a half an hour.
I had to drive all the way here today.
Right. I should be on my third break by now. Yeah. And so anyway, she poisons his coffee, and then she puts this little like transmitter, like a tracker thing, on his coat.
Yeah.
And then she dips out, and I think he was kind of like thinking she was cute for a second, just from like the facial expressions and stuff.
Oh, I think he thought he had a shot.
Yeah, and then she just dips out.
And he's
Yeah.
like, what?
Right?
Looks at her ass as she walks away.
Yeah. Doesn't have no game.
No game.
That's it. So anyway, we see where Ethan and this Kittredge fellow have crawled into the ventilation system.
Kittredge is definitely not with Ethan.
No, Krieger. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Kittredge's upstairs in his office at Langley.
He's
doing
telling
his
him
thing.
to shut off the. He's like, they're like, what is that? And then Kittredge was like, Kittredge was like, what is that? And they're like, it's a fire alarm, sir.
Shut off the
He goes-
damn fire alarm.
He's like, we don't have to evacuate, do we?
No, it's fine.
Yeah. He's like, okay.
Yeah, no, it's Krieger and Ethan Hunt are crawling around in this ventilation system. They're looking for the room that has this computer in it. And meanwhile, they use this frame-looking thing to get rid of this laser net deal that's over the vent. And then I like the little like magnetic thing that they use to unscrew the actual grill from the vent. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that when the screw drops, it doesn't hit the ground.
Right, it uses like a magnet to like pull these screws out, and then it like pops like right into this little pocket on the thing. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I like the laser thing.
Yeah. And so anyway, they have Ethan. He's all wired up, and he's on this pulley deal, and so like he can they'll lower him down and stuff like that, so he can get down into the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stigler, right?
Stigler?
Is it Stigler?
Krieger. Yeah.
Okay, so Krieger is the one who
Stifler.
has Krieger has to like manually lower Hunt
Yeah.
down.
Like by hand. Yeah. He's holding this guy. I would get really tired of that, man.
He's struggling quick.
He is.
There's no lockout.
I mean, no, there's not, and one would have come in handy later too, but. You know.
So there's no lockout on this damn rope where he can relax his arms. And if you're holding me above the weighted floor, like or of the weight sensitive floor, I need you to have a lockout, bro.
You got to be more careful than that. Yeah, that's unacceptable. Anyway, we cut to William Dunlow, who is in the process of like barfing his guts out at this point. Like he goes into the room and then like vomits all over the trash can because of that crap that Claire put in his coffee. And then he goes to the bathroom and continues to vomit everywhere, clean out his trash can, keeps puking and all this other stuff.
He's like the best employee, by the way. It's like he's even like wiping the sink out, to make sure it's all nice and clean in there.
He is.
Like
I kind of felt he got dealt dirty too later.
The custodian is just loving him.
Yeah.
Like, wait, such a good guy.
William Dunlow doesn't do anything else, but I guess he's good at wiping the sink.
Yeah, he's really kind.
Let me ask you that: what does he do all day?
I think he's.
Does he just sit there at the computer and do jack shit?
I think he goes in and out of that room a dozen or so times a day. Drinks probably about like 6 to 8 cups of coffee.
Because I'm sitting there watching, like, you've got the list in here. I mean, what else are you doing? Like, there's nothing like work being done. Are you updating files or what's the deal?
I don't know. It can't be very efficient. He's the only guy allowed in there.
Right. So he goes to lunch, the whole thing shuts down. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's the only guy allowed in there. They said it in the movie. So, like, there's no one in there to check on what he's doing.
No, he could be in there beating off for all they know.
You know he's got porn.
Oh, yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
There's no cameras in the room.
There's no cameras. The lady outside, that's the thing, too. The lady that's sitting in the entry area in the next room over, like, what does she do all day? Like, just sit there and wait for him to come in with a stupid key card?
Yeah, she's got to be able to put the second one in there at the same time. And
I mean, I say that would be a boring job, but pretty easy job.
Very easy.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I could probably do it pretty well.
Yeah, so then we cut to Hunt and the famous wire scene.
Yes.
He does this flip move, and now
Pretty cool.
Now he's in the he's flailed out both arms and legs, and he's balancing himself. And he looks pretty under control.
Yeah, he is. And from my understanding, Tom Cruise did all that work himself. With
Tom
the
Cruise
wires.
does all his own stunts.
He does. Well, so he does now. I was wondering back then if he because this was his first real big stunt movie, so I wasn't sure if that was a thing back then, but yeah, I think it was. Anyway, so he does the thing. He actually has this little device with him where I believe that it's helping to readjust the temperature of the room because he sets it on this thing or whatever. You see the temperature drop back down from 78.9 to 78.8 and 7 and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, he's trying to not make any noise. And So he goes in, Luther hacks the thing, and tells him what the access code is to get in there to the knock list, and he winds up loading on the computer. Meanwhile, up top, we've got Krieger, who like sees this rat crawling behind him in the duct system, and almost completely screws up the entire mission.
He drops Hunt.
He does. I'm surprised he caught him when he did, because he was like screwing around up there.
He caught him like 1.5 feet later.
Right. Yeah. That's a pretty good catch.
Super quick recovery.
Yeah. That's like, you drop him, you got him.
Yeah, and then we look back and see that he actually killed a rat in that time.
Yeah. You see the little body of the rat sitting back there in the duct behind him.
So Krieger's a pretty dangerous dude.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop you for a quick second, snap this rat's neck, and then I'm going to catch you.
I wonder if that was part of it, because later on you see in the scene he has his knife out, and I'm wondering if he used that knife to get the rat. And that's why he had his knife with him, like, out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe.
So, could be. Anyway, he drops Ethan Hunt, and the stupid rope that is holding him falls off of this pulley, and so now it's like directly on this duct. And Ethan's like just sitting there, like trying to keep his balance so he doesn't accidentally tap the floor.
I mean, he's just inches from the floor.
Yeah, like literally inches.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see like a little roll of sweat like drip down his glasses or whatever. Like, he manages to catch it with his hand before it hits the floor, you know,
pretty
all
slick.
that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then so they realize that William Dunlow's done barfing his guts up, and so like he's headed back in, and so like the last ditch effort, they're like, grab that disc, get the fuck out of there. And so they basically, as the lights like changing or whatever, they just yank him up there. It makes a ton of noise, but not enough to set off anything.
Well, just as it was getting ready to hit like the decibel level, detection level, the security system gets shut down.
Right. And so then that's whenever Krieger has his knife, and he like grabs the disc from Ethan whenever Ethan's up top, and he accidentally drops it. And so then you see, boom, this knife just lands like blade first into this table that's down there. Yeah.
It's perfectly stabbed.
Right.
Table. Mm-hmm.
So William Dunlow walks in, and he sees a knife, and he's like, what the hell is this? And he looks up, and Krieger and Hunt have already cleared out. They're done. And so he like opens up the computer, and he looks, and like he sees where there's this download at 9:58. And so then we see Ethan throws a smoke bomb, and they evacuate everybody out of the building, and they're good to go, basically.
Yeah, Dunlow sees the download log, and was like, oh no.
Oh shit, yeah.
They downloaded the one file I'm responsible for keeping safe.
This is my job. I have no other responsibilities.
I only had one fucking job to do. It was like, don't let nobody in here. Fuck that up.
Yeah, no, that's it. And so anyway, we cut to later on. Ethan Hunt is talking, or he's trying to send out a message to Max saying, "Hey, I got this knock list. I'm good to go now." You know, and so we get to where Krieger now is like, "Hey, I want to be part of that meeting."
Well, they're in London.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got out of Langley.
Yeah, they're in London. Mm-hmm. Krieger wants to be in the meeting because he doesn't want Hunt to have his money. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I got the fucking disc. And Hunt's like, you don't think I'm really going to let you keep that disc, do you? And he starts doing fucking magic tricks.
Yeah, he's like, no, I got the disc right here. And like, turns out that Ethan Hunt had 2 discs when he was down there. And so Krieger doesn't know which one he had.
Yeah, but you're blowing right past the point that Tom Cruise is doing magic tricks.
He is, yeah, which is great.
He's making the disc vanish and reappear.
Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of levity in this, but that scene's it's kind of playful. I like it. Because he's sitting back there and acting like he's doing this magic stuff. And, oh man, it's hard to keep track of these discs, you know, and whatnot. Yeah,
yeah, and then Krieger, without even thinking about it, just tosses his disc in the trash.
Yeah, he gets pissed off and throws it in the trash.
Fine.
Like a
I guess
baby.
you tricked me.
Yeah. He's lucky that Krieger didn't get pissed off and snap it in half or something, you know.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, he winds up giving the disc to Luther. He's like, you got to keep an eye on this disc. He's like, don't let this get out in the open. And he's like, okay. Then we cut to where Ethan Hunt goes to look at the TV because Claire calls him in there, and as it turns out, they've arrested his mom and his uncle because I think that they're part of the deal. That's like Kittredge is putting out this thing to try to like squeeze Hunt by getting to them first.
Yeah, he's trying to get Hunt to come to him instead of having to go on a manhunt for Hunt.
Yeah, getting his attention basically.
Yeah, he's like, if you want someone to come with you, you just find who's important, you squeeze. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he arrested them for being manufacturers of methamphetamines.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, William Dunlow, the guy that stole the thing from, apparently Kittredge sent him to a radar tower in Alaska.
By the end of the day,
it's so bad.
And we'll mail him his clothes.
It's such an awful fate for that guy. I would like Mission Impossible 10 to be like him getting revenge on Ethan for that thing, you know?
Or just Hunt that has to go to Alaska and needs to hack
He's
a
in there,
radar tower.
with this parka on, yeah.
And just gray hair.
Right, like feeding a penguin or something. Yeah.
No family.
Nope. Anyway, so yeah, he goes to it looks like a train depot or something like that.
Yeah, it's a subway terminal or something.
Yeah. And he goes there and he actually calls Langley with Kittredge there. And they basically do a little back and forth. He's like, oh, I see that you arrested my mom and my uncle. And he's like, hey, I want to sort all this out. Just come back here. We'll get it figured out, you know.
And he's tracking the phone call. Kittredge is tracking the phone call.
Yeah.
Somehow they have a direct line.
Yeah, they do.
Because he just calls straight to them.
He does. He didn't do that the first time from the payphone.
No.
Whatever, yeah. The whole point of that phone call, though, was to let them know that he was in London, England, basically. As soon as he hangs up the phone, he turns around and there's Jim Phelps.
Yep.
And he's like, what the hell are you doing alive? And so he starts coming up with this bullshit story. They sit down in like this coffee shop at this terminal, and Jim Phelps starts telling him how like Kittredge was part of this assassination thing that like killed the whole team and whatnot. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, you know. Meanwhile, he's piecing all this together in his head that Jim Phelps was behind this whole thing, you know.
Yeah, Jim Phelps was controlling the elevator,
Right.
and he killed Jack.
Faked his own death.
Yeah, he pretended like he was getting shot, but he wasn't. He pulled out like this blood rag and squeezed it on camera.
Right, yeah.
He blew up the car. Wait, no, maybe Claire blew up the car.
He thought Claire blew it up first. He's like, but I think part of it is he doesn't want to believe that Claire had anything to do with it.
Right.
Yeah. And so he's like, no, Jim probably did that too.
Yeah, and then he was, then he said, and I saw that knife already, and Krieger did the stabbing.
Yeah.
So Krieger's
he
in on
recognized the knife, yeah.
So he knows Krieger's in on it, and it's Jim, and it wasn't Kissich or Kittredge. Yeah.
Yep. And so, anyway, he's like, why would he do that? And he's like, well, it's probably just because Cold War's over and he got bored. Was basically the gist of, like, the motivation behind it, you know? And so, anyway, he goes back to, after he talks to Jim Phelps is like, hey, I don't want Claire to know that I'm alive. She needs to finish out this mission before we do any sort of reconciliation or anything like that. She doesn't need to be thinking about me. He's like, okay, whatever. And so he goes back to their safe house where they're posted up basically in London with Claire. And then what I noticed what I left out anyway, when we were talking about it, was that Claire actually said, I'm sorry about that. Krieger was my call after he tried to like basically hold that disc like ransom. And so now I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, okay, so that's why Krieger was like down for this whole thing, was because he knew that
He already did it once.
Yeah, exactly. And so you can pretty much piecemeal together that Claire's involved because, you know, he knows that Krieger's involved, and Krieger was like her idea anyway. So
he sets the meeting with Max to give her the knock disc.
right.
Then Claire seduces him.
Did they do it there?
We don't know.
They never say.
They just show her like she's sitting all weirdly in the corner.
Yeah, like in a
of the
sleeping
room.
bag or something.
Yeah, and she puts her hand out.
Yeah.
He walks over to her, and she takes his hand and kisses it.
Yeah. Cut scene.
Yeah.
If it was me, we'd have done it. But you know.
Oh, would you?
I mean, you know, like most of the ladies, I'm irresistible. But
The ladies love cool shade.
that's it, man. That's it. They like the glasses, I think, the best. But, what is it? We cut to the next day. Kittredge arrives in London, and he's like, "Hey, he receives his package right when he gets there, and it's a stupid watch that has the little monitor thing on it where you can see the transmission from the camera glasses, and it's 2 tickets for the train that goes from England to France, basically.
It leaves in 10 minutes.
Yeah."
And he asked the local constable, like, how long is it to get to the train station?
25 minutes.
25 minutes. We
You
have
got
10.
Yep. Get your ass over there.
You can't make that happen.
You can't make it happen.
In a
number
car,
one.
you cannot cut a trip down by 15 minutes in a car when it's only a 25-minute long
Not
trip.
going to happen.
You could get back in the helicopter that just landed
Right.
and fly to the train station.
You could do that. Probably would have been a smarter thing to do, because you could probably turn that into about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Straight line's pretty short trip.
Yep, jumps in the car with the cops.
Plus, you got thing too. Once he gets there, like he's got to present his credentials, like at security, and like fuck around with them for a while. So I mean, why would he even really need a ticket at that point? Because whatever. He's the director of IMF. Anyway, we get cut to the train where we see that there's a mysterious figure that's like deconstructing this boombox and cobbling together this weapon out of this looks like a little handgun. He's just taking pieces off here and there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool seeing.
Yeah, I like it.
They're pulling this radio apart and they're really just reassembling it back into a gun.
Right. We see where Ving Rhames has a seat like adjacent from Max, which kind of works because she doesn't know who Luther Stickle is at this point. And so Ethan calls her and he says, hey, look under your seat. There's a little velvet pouch that's in there and it has your disc in it. And she's like, oh, sweet. And so she goes through, takes the disc out, puts it in the computer, but she's not able to load it up because Luther Stickle has like this thing.
Jamming device.
Yeah, it's jamming her signal on her to the internet.
He's jamming everybody like in the area.
Right.
All these
It's
people,
a pretty funny scene later on.
all the people start losing their cell phone service and shit.
Because later on he sees the IMF team, and so he gets up to leave, and so the guy that's like the servant or the service guy on the train or whatever, he's like, oh, sir, you forgot your phone, and he brings it up to him, and everybody's signal like drops like, right there. Yeah.
And then Max can download. Mm-hmm. I realized like everybody's on this fucking train.
Oh yeah.
Like all of IMF is there.
Mm-hmm. The long-haired blonde dude that works for Max, he's there. They're all looking for each other. There's like this big cat and mouse on the train.
Yeah, everybody that is in the movie pretty much is on the train.
Yeah. And of course, you got Claire, and she's not really sure where Ethan is. You got Ethan looking for Job. Max is calling Job saying, hey, I sent Ethan back to this train car, the baggage car, so go back there. I mean, things are like going crazy at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she says, well, your money's back there in the baggage cart, and it's such and such locker, combination 314, which is nice because of the job 314. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he goes back there, and then we see Claire go back there too, and she's like, hey, she sees Jim, and she's like, Jim, do you really think we need to kill Ethan? We can just take the money and get out of here. Yeah. And so then we see the last reveal. Like
Rubber mask.
Yeah. It goes all the way from Jim Phelps. He peels the mask off, and it's Ethan the whole time. And at this point, he's basically confirmed that she was part of this whole thing,
Yes.
Which is great. Great stuff.
But then Jim pops out right behind him.
Was he just going to sit there?
So he's just watching
this thing?
Ethan Hunt sit there looking like him. Like, let's see how this turns out.
I'm sure I had thought of that, but like it didn't sink in this time.
Like,
are you just gonna sit there and let this guy dupe your wife?
Looking just like you.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, man. All you have to, I don't know. That's funny.
Because he was like literally on his reveal was like peekaboo, like he just popped out.
Yeah, he popped right out of this like door that was right behind him. It wasn't like he was running to get to it, or like he was right there
looking at Tom Cruise.
Right. Maybe he wanted his wife to get fooled. I don't know, but anyway, so
then he talked about. Jim says like, I planned all this.
Yeah,
I knew that she could seduce you.
Right.
And it worked.
Yeah.
So now give us the money.
Right.
And she looked at Hunt, and I don't know what she said first, but he said, you were worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Or you earned it.
Yeah, you earned it. That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, that's way harsher.
Yeah.
You earned it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking they did.
That they got it all.
I think they hooked
up. And
up.
he basically made a joke about her being a whore.
Yeah. It cost $10 million.
Yeah. Must have been some good sex, boy. I'll tell you what, for 10 mil.
And then fucking Hunt breaks out another pair of glasses. Now this is what's crazy. He starts to pull these glasses out, and he's doing it real slow, so he doesn't get shot because he doesn't want them to think he's grabbing a weapon or whatever.
Right.
But he grabs these glasses out real slow. You work in the IMF with him, you know what those are.
I just shot him right there. Always got the glasses. Bam.
Yeah. Every pair of glasses we've seen in the movie so far have cameras in them. Yeah. But I'm gonna let him put them on there.
Jim was wearing them when he got shot, or supposedly got shot at the beginning of the movie.
The same glasses, pretty much.
Probably.
Yeah. So then Ethan puts them on and goes, now I'm not the only person who's seen you alive.
Yeah. Kittredge sees him.
On the watch.
Yeah, on the watch. But yeah, that's what I would have been like. Oh, he's gonna show my face. Like, I'm gonna put this dude down. Into that.
Yeah,
I'm out of here.
He waited until after that. Then he just blasts Claire.
Yeah,
and
he didn't kill Ethan. They always do that in these spy movies.
Didn't kill Ethan. Like, looked like he broke his back. He recovered quickly.
He did. I don't know. So there was in the James Bond movie, You Only Live Twice, and so like James Bond like gets to this volcano lair. It's kind of like a Dr. Evil thing almost, but so James Bond goes into this lair and like Blofeld is all pissed off and he's like, this is what happens when this is the price of incompetence, and he like shoots the guard that was supposed to be keeping people out of this volcano lair. Why are you gonna shoot your guy and not like the guy that's your enemy? You're gonna shoot your wife Claire, but you're not gonna shoot Ethan.
Sequels.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's true. Sadly,
we gotta have sequels.
Yeah. So then, directly after that, we have one of the more like I think that. So with this, like it's a cool stunt scene, and I think that everything kind of grows organically into this scene. And so it's not like some stupid thing that felt like it was tacked on just for the coolness sake or anything like that. But Jim escapes through the top of the train, and Krieger's in a helicopter coming to pick him up now that he's got this money with him, And so Ethan's on the case, and so he goes up there to try to get a hold of Jim before he's able to escape, basically. We get to where, of course, Jim, he's got like harnesses, and he's got these carabiners and stuff like that, where he's gonna like hook onto this helicopter, and so he's more equipped to ride on the top of this train.
Yeah, he's got goggles.
Yeah,
and Krieger has a hook off of his helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
So they have this all pre-planned.
Right. And so we see Ethan, and he's basically getting tossed around pretty badly at this point. And
well, they're on a bullet train.
Yeah, it's going.
So they're traveling like 300 miles an hour.
Yeah, which that's not all that realistic because Ethan's like holding on for most of the scene. Like I'd have like a long go, but
yeah, like as soon as you stuck your head out there.
Right.
Yeah.
And but it is pretty cool visually. I think because this is kind of mid 90s stuff, and so maybe some of the special effects don't hold up like they did back then. Like some of it looks a little wonky, but it's still like they get the point across, and it still looks cool, So.
But I'm gonna guess Tom Cruise did not hang on to.
No, that totally happened. I'm assuming that did not take place.
So he catches up with them pretty quick.
Yeah, because Jim's at the back of the train, so all he has to do is like let go, and it'll throw him back a ways, and he can grab back on.
He uses the wind, controls the wind.
Right, harnesses the wind
to let him get back there.
Mm-hmm.
Hits him with the drop kick real quick.
Right.
Hook comes up. And he hooks.
Ethan grabs it and hooks it onto the train.
He shows Krieger the hook, like ha ha ha.
Right, the hell you do, yeah. Which is awesome because then Krieger's trying to pull away and it's not going to happen, Yeah.
And then they go into the tunnel.
They hit the tunnel, yep. And that's whenever Max loses the signal on the internet so she can't transmit the knock list anymore. Yeah.
And Krieger is the most amazing helicopter pilot on the face of the planet because he navigates this little bird, his helicopter through this tunnel, never hitting anything.
Right.
Until he tries to kill
Ethan with the propeller.
Yeah, the prop.
But what's crazy though is that that whole shot of that helicopter, because at first Krieger's trying to pull away, and then finally he's like, fuck it, and he noses down on this stupid helicopter. If I had $1 for every time I saw like that helicopter go into the tunnel, like on a commercial or whatever for this movie, like, man, I'd be a rich person. Like, that was pretty popular at the time.
They were building it up for like the big scene.
Yeah, they were. So they're in this tunnel, and it's once again Jim and Ethan just trying to duke it out the best they can. And I guess to put it into words wouldn't really be very wouldn't do it any sort of services or anything. So long story short, he basically takes the exploding gum
bomb.
Yeah, gum bomb again, you bet. And he throws it on the cockpit of the helicopter. The whole thing blows up. And so Krieger's dead at that point. And then the helicopter like scrapes the tracks. And Jim's dead at that point because they're both hanging on to the bottom of the helicopter. And so this effectively is puts an end to that.
Then they stop the train.
Yeah, they stop the train. thankfully.
Pretty easily.
Going that fast, it stops on a dime. That's good. Another kind of funny scene is that you see the guy that's one of the conductors or whatever on the train, and he's like standing inside the train, and he sees what just happened and like passes out.
Faints.
Kind of a nice little funny,
little bitch.
dorky little moment. Yeah.
He just watched the whole time out the window. Like, well, this is crazy.
I don't believe that. Yeah.
And then it all happens, and he goes, ah.
Oh, I'm out. Yeah.
The news calls it a freak accident. They catch Max in the disc,
Yep.
and she's like tries to bribe her way out of the
Right. And Kittredge is like, well, maybe we can come up with something else other than jail time, basically. I don't think they ever allude to what the deal... They've never shown Max again in any of these movies, so I don't know what kind of deal it is they worked out. But
We have no idea.
Yeah.
Now they're at a bar.
Yeah, they're kind of drinking outside on like this patio thing, and Ethan apparently had called his mom, and they cleared his name and all that stuff, so that she didn't have anything to do with it. I did write down that they played Dreams by the Cranberries.
R.I.P.
in the scene. Yeah, rest in peace, Dolores O'Riordan. But, yeah, he basically talks to Luther, and he's like...
Stickles going back in.
Yeah, and Ethan's like, I'm done with this.
He retires.
Yeah. And then,
Until 5 seconds later.
Right, we cut to the plane, and there's this woman, the stewardess on the plane, and she's like, can I recommend a movie for you?
Cinema of the Caribbean.
Yeah, and
He was like, no. Aruba, perhaps?
And then it just shoots a look up and then cuts to the credits. It's pretty cool, I gotta say. It's effective.
Yeah.
I like it.
So what do you think about the movie?
I love this movie. It's great. I mean, it's not like the best movie ever made or anything, but it's a good little action movie. It's got enough intrigue and story and stuff to keep me going.
It held up.
It did.
I was surprised.
I agree. Especially considering there's so many sequels to it now, and considering how tonally different the sequels are to this. Like, it's good stuff, man. I like it.
It did a pretty good job after it was over. I looked at the wife, and I was like, yeah, movie held up pretty well.
Pretty good movie, yeah.
Minus the
crazy internet stuff and the lack of security cameras.
Yeah, the no cameras anywhere, and then the train scene, that fight scene, like, although it was cool, there was some pretty bad CGI in there. They
even tried to use like lens flares at one point, and this ain't like J.J. Abrams' lens flare. Like, it looks pretty bad, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a guy that I used to hang out with, and he's the biggest James Bond junkie you've ever seen. And so, in his opinion, he's not down with like anything that's spy related, whatever. He's like strictly to the James Bond thing. So like Jason Bourne and stuff. I think he actually liked Jason Bourne, but I don't know. I don't think that this really borrowed too heavily from James Bond. It did a good job of being like its own thing.
Well, there's a team and gadgets.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Bond has gadgets, but I don't think he's ever really worked necessarily. Like, he'll work with individuals here and there, but never like as part of a unit, you know.
Right.
So. I could see why people would be a little off-put by the character change of Jim Phelps, but I think that it made it more effective, though. If you're not going to make him the star of the piece, then changing his character like that, that's not bad, I don't think. But then again, I don't have any real love for the show either, you know, so...
Yeah, you made it half a season.
Right, exactly. The season where Jim Phelps wasn't around, so yeah, that's you know. But no, I liked it. I thought it was a good movie, and this is before like, because now it seems like crazy stunts are like, you know, Tom Cruise's bread and butter, and so this is before things started getting too crazy. Like all the action stuff in this movie kind of grows organically from the plot, you know. It's not like we have these set pieces that now he's going to jump into this thing, you know, because this is like you know, he's got to jump in this giant waterfall looking circular thing like was in that Rogue Nation. Yeah, all that crazy stuff. And we're actually going to have a chance to talk about Mission Impossible 2 because it came out, you know, 18 years ago or whatever, and so that one's completely different, you know, tonally from this one. But this one, it's a fine movie, and if they hadn't continued the series, I still would have been like, yeah, Mission Impossible, good stuff, man. I like that thing they did, yeah. So, you like it?
Good movie.
Pretty good, yeah.
Held up. I mean, I'm not mad at it at all. The cast was good. You know, I'm a Tom Cruise fanboy, so...
Right. Even the stuff that is kind of plot holy, like the internet stuff and the camera stuff, like I said, I can excuse that if you're giving me a good story, you know. I'm not watching a documentary about Langley here, you know. Like,
Right.
You know. So anyway, it's not bad. I think it served its purpose.
Agreed.
Yeah. Any thoughts outside of that? It's your pick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking.
Yeah.
I picked like right before we started recording this.
Yeah, you did. I was sitting here.
You don't know what it is though.
No idea.
Do you want to know?
I'm loving the idea of knowing.
Extraterrestrial.
Oh, E.T.?
E.T.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I love E.T. That's a great movie.
Yeah. So we're gonna watch E.T. this week.
I kind of have a bone to pick with E.T. Because the movie The Thing with Kurt Russell came out around the same time as E.T. And that movie got no love back in the day because everybody was riding the E.T. wave. But, you know, it's nothing personal, I guess, against E.T.
So we're gonna watch E.T.
Yeah, I'm down for it. That's a great movie. Anyway, what else we got?
You can find us on Instagram now. And on Twitter
Mike
now.
started us a Twitter. You bet.
There's nothing on there except for the logo this
Right.
week. So if you want to go on Instagram and say something to us, you can.
Yeah.
It's at the Casino Royale with cheese. On Twitter, it's Casino Royale with chi. Because it has a maximum characters that you can have. So it's Casino Royale WCH. With cha. Of course, we're on YouTube. You can email us cheesymovie@yahoo.com.
Look us up on Facebook, Casino Royale WCheese, all one word.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
We're gonna keep making these. For a couple of you out there that I know have been listening, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
We'll get better at this as time goes.
We're getting it down. It's a work in progress. So, well, anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. Be sure to join us for ET next week, and I guess we'll see you then.
We're out.
I'll be back.